Good morning. You're watching Market Fatafat right here on ET Now. Your daily dose of all the big movers and shakers in trade. I'm Ubina Kapasi, and we are going to wrap up 30 big movers and shakers in the next 30 minutes. Markets, of course, looking very, very weak. The aftermath of Trump's tweets over the weekend. It's a 100-point drop for the Nifty. Mild recovery from the day's low, but still 11,600 just about being held on to, and it's a 326-point drop for the for the Sensex, pardon me. But let's introduce then our research analysts. Let's introduce then our research analyst as well as our technical guests who are going to be joining in. We have with us Pranay Jain, our in-house research analyst. Kunal Bothra as well joins in, along with Sameet Chauhan of Angel Broking for the technical. So good morning to you. Thanks so much for joining in. Let's start with the very first stock on our radar. That's HUL. Delivered its numbers, fourth quarter numbers. It was an absolutely inline set of numbers. Volume growth at 7%. And I think that was encouraging, because despite the weakness in the environment which was flagged off by its peers, Godrej, Dabur, etc., HUL still just about managed to deliver 7%. I think what was disappointing was the margins. It did expand significantly, but it was a 40 bips miss compared to what the street was expecting. So I think safe to say HUL was a mixed bag. Nevertheless, brokerages are optimistic. Macquarie has an outperform as they believe the operational performance is in line with estimates. CLSA as well is pretty impressed with the volume growth number because they believe it looks good in the context of peer performance. But HUL, I suppose with the market weakness, is declining 1.7%. Interestingly, what's really bucking the trend is ONGC. Yes, it is lower, but I think it's more or less flattish in trade, and what a rebound from the day's low, Kunal.
Yes, Mubina, and the fact that the stock is rebounding from its strong support levels, 165, 168, we discussed even last week, that how that, it's a very strong, important support zone for ONGC. And this tendency of bouncing back from those levels, hitting new swing highs on, even if it's on an intraday basis, I think is a very strong positive sign for the stock price trend. So, maintain that stance on ONGC, and in fact, if you get, such kind of intraday dips closer to 168, 167 odd, I believe it could be a very good entry range for ONGC. Keep a stop loss of 164 approximately for a target of 178 plus on ONGC.
Okay, so that's ONGC, and yes, Kunal seems to be pretty optimistic. Pranay, more downgrades for Yes Bank?
Well, yes, ICRA has downgraded the bank's bond ratings, and it believes that fresh risks could emerge from the ADAG group. In fact, some analysts point out that its exposure could be, nearly 25-27% of its 81 capital, and if those kind of risks materialize, then the stock will see further pressure from these levels, which is why the stock is down about 3.5-4% in trade today.
All right, yes, one of the big Nifty losers today in trade. Sameet is just going to be joining us in the show in moments from now, but it's an interesting trend we are seeing in OMCs. Of course, you've got to attribute it to the fact that crude prices have taken a sharp knock to below $70 per barrel on the Brent benchmark after Trump has tweeted that things do not seem to be working out with China on the trade front. So crude prices have certainly fallen, and that's something that's giving a leg up to OMCs. However, Sameet does believe that you should at this point of time avoid holding long positions in OMCs. So that's the word on an HPCL. Pranay, what is the news with respect to Indiabulls Housing?
Well, basically, as per some of the changes announced on Friday, they have said that they are open to merging with Lakshmi Vilas Bank, merging into LVB actually. Earlier, they were more keen to keep the name Indiabulls Housing Finance, but now, if they are to merge into LVB, something that they have stated keenness about, then the name perhaps may not continue. And while the swap ratio has remained unchanged, it is just a reiteration that they remain committed to this M&A, while clearly they are still seeking approval from RBI for the same.
All right, well, that's the latest, and look at the way LVB as well is rallying. A big move seen on a Lakshmi Vilas Bank. United Breweries, meantime, Carlsberg has had his conference call for the first quarter of calendar year 2019, and they seem to be giving out a pretty decent commentary, nothing to complain about. The India beer business reported a 7.6% year-on-year volume growth with a 17% revenue growth. It's interesting to see that, and it's important to flag off United Breweries in light of that, because Carlsberg is a strong competitor of Kingfisher, which is UBL's brand. So essentially the two would rub off on each other. United Breweries, however, is just about down by 0.8%, but I think a 7.5% volume growth for India beer business is not at all bad. All right, moving on to Tata Steel. Do we have Samit with us? All right, Samit, hi, good morning. Let's talk about the metals pack. You know, it's, I think, the third or the fourth straight day that we are seeing Tata Steel actually drift lower. It's in the red. What would be your recommendation? Because the entire metals pack is crumbling.
Yes, Mubina, due to global worries, we are seeing a bit of pressure in the entire metal pack. But, before 3-4 days, you have to see the entire price move in this Tata Steel. It has been one of the outperforming stock within the metal space. It has already rallied quite sharply, post its number from the lower levels of 510, 515. So last 3 days correction can be used to go long. So positionally we remain upbeat, and we would be buyers in such kind of dips. So one should remain long, or one can go long in such dips. We believe that 515, 510 would act as a very strong support now.
Okay, so advice to go long on dips. Samit seems to be pretty positive on Tata Steel. All right, Kunal, HDFC, we were flagging off HDFC Bank and how it's at record highs. Your view on HDFC Limited?
HDFC Limited is also very similar sort of chart for as compared to HDFC Bank. But when you look at the near-term picture, and especially the last 2 days, there was a bearish candlestick pattern which was formed on Friday when the stock saw selling from higher levels of 2020 to 2025, closed negative on Friday, and today you're seeing the stock opened with a gap down. There is a bearish gap which has been created on the daily charts, and the stock is now on the verge of testing its very strong support zone. So there are a cluster of averages which are placed at 1950 levels for HDFC, and I sense that if the stock breaks those levels, it could complete a bearish price pattern as well. So the reason why I'm flagging HDFC is because it has a direct correlation with the trends on the benchmark Nifty as well. If HDFC breaks this 1950 mark, there should be another 50 to 60 points shave off into the stock price. So traders have to take note of that, because it will impact the Nifty directly.
Okay, that's HDFC, and yeah, it's an interesting correlation as well that stock has on the Nifty. Pranay, Infibeam, some turmoil over there?
Well, yes, the board has recommended terminating the services of the auditor, which is a unit of E&Y. Now, there was some information which the auditor had let out, and that was price sensitive, something that the company did not want actually to be read by the public, and therefore, citing these kind of lapses, they have recommended terminating the services. But E&Y has lashed back, saying that if any independent inquiry is done, then perhaps they will also have similar observations and conduct as E&Y had done. So on the back of that, Infibeam had actually opened lower, but as you can see, it is moving up from those lower levels.
All right, allegations of some impropriety by the company. So this is something that's causing Infibeam to be in focus. The stock, however, is up. All right, metal stocks are the big loser, like we flagged off earlier. The Nifty metal is the top sectoral loser with all the constituents in the red. Hindalco is one such stock we're flagging off, and it's unsurprising given the fact that Trump, just when things seem to be looking okay on the trade talks front, just ahead of the 11th round talks, it was supposed to be end game this week. On 8th May, Chinese officials were expected to fly to Washington for the last round. Just ahead of that, Trump seemed to have threatened a new set of tariffs on Chinese products, increasing the rate as well from 10 to 25%. And this is something that will, in all probability, impact the metal stocks, because metal prices are the first to be victimized on account of, a threat to globalization, as is seen between the US-China rhetoric at this point of time. So Hindalco is among the other metal stocks that is losing. Samit, we've got to talk about Tata Motors. What a fall witnessed over there. You could attribute it to several reasons, but on the technicals, what would you make of this move?
See, if I look at it from a slightly broader view, previously if you see, 190, 195 was acting as a very strong resistance for several months. So during the initial part of April, we saw a decisive breakout happening from this major resistance, which was followed by a decent 10 to 15% sharp up move. However, in last 6-7 days, the stock has come off quite sharply. But previous breakout points of 190, 195 is likely to act as a sheet anchor. And there's a cluster of supports. So 200-day moving average is placed around 202, 203. 89 moving average is placed around 192, 195. So there's a cluster of support around this current market price. So we would be contra bias considering its weekly and monthly chart. So one should go long in such dips wherein 190, 195 is likely to act as a very strong support.
All right, that's the view on Tata Motors, which is down 4.2%. It's almost erased all that bounce that it saw in the beginning of of last month. Tata Chemicals has delivered its fourth quarter numbers. Top line growth of 8% is what is witnessed. However, the profit spiraled down 63%. There was margin compression as well of 100 basis points. But yeah, most of the impact on the bottom line has come in because of certain below the line items. And that is something worth watching out for. The stock price, however, is gaining 6%. Do remember, one key event we are watching out for also is the internal restructuring of the company with respect to its salts business. No announcement on that front. However, it's something worth watching out and mentioning with respect to Tata Chemicals. Pranay, what's Credit Suisse view on Lupin?
Well, they are maintaining their underperformed stance, and that is largely because of the rally that the stock has seen. Actually, Lupin has been one of the outperformers in the last 6 to 8 weeks, and after this kind of move, Credit Suisse does not remain excited at the current levels. Also, they believe that the launches that have happened have been in line. They have not really surprised their estimates, and the market share, trajectory in some of them has actually been below expectations. So therefore, they have trimmed their estimates by about 3 to 9% for FY 19-21.
All right, that's Lupin, and it is at this point of time declining 1.5%. Sameet, ahead of its numbers, Marico as well is seeing some major losses in trade. What would you recommend?
See, if you see the entire FMCG space as undergoing some kind of corrective phase since last couple of weeks. So Marico is the one stock which was consolidating around its major resistance of 360, 365. In last couple of days we have seen decent correction, and with today's decline, the stock has managed to slip below its 200-day moving average as well. So from here on, we expect this weakness to extend a bit, wherein this stock can easily slide towards its next support zone of 340, 337.
All right, stock number 15 then is Cadila. This after the company has announced that it has received 14 observations from the US FDA for the Muraya unit. So the investigation by the US FDA had taken place towards the end of April and a little bit, I think, towards till the 2nd of May. However, despite the 14 observations, the management has said that there seems to be no data integrity related observations. I suppose that may be a reason why the stock seems to be seeing some support. All right, we'll do one thing. We'll take a very quick break right here on the show. Do come right back. The countdown will continue. Welcome back. You're watching Market Fatafat right here on ET Now. Before we continue with the countdown of movers and shakers, here's an ET Now exclusive. Armed with bids from the likes of Dr. Reddy's, Cadila, Zydus and Goldman Sachs, the promoters of Bharat Serums and Vaccines, or BSV, are having second thoughts when it comes to selling their 50-year-old business for 3,500 crore rupees. However, the promoters, that's the Daftari family, do have a plan B that involved Chris Capital-backed Mankind Pharma. Let's go across to Neha Bothra for this story. Neha, what's in the works? Why is this deal being tracked so closely by the markets despite the target company not being listed?
Indeed, Mubina, it's not a listed company, but in the biopharmaceutical space, this is one company that really has been the cynosure of all domestic pharma players, and for good reason too, because remember that biopharma is touted to be the next big play when it comes to the pharmaceutical industry. To move over generics, complex generics, it's all about biosimilars now. It's all about how differentiated, niche and complex products are marketed in India at this point, and opportunities in overseas markets. This makes Bharat Serum's vaccine a very attractive proposition for many pharmaceutical players. In fact, they have a niche portfolio and access to several vaccines that are unique to this company, and this is the reason why many private equity companies, along with the likes of Zydus, Cadila and DRL, have been looking to get a slice of this company. But at this point, we are given to understand that while these interested players are on board, there are two hurdles when it really comes to closing a deal. One we are given to understand is that the promoters are not on the same page when it really comes to selling out the company. So one of the promoters is keen to retain controlling stake, retain management control, while another promoter is willing to consider the idea to sell out at this point and give exit to companies, investors that includes private like Kotak Private Equity and also OrbiMed Asia that collectively own about 23% in the company at this point. The other reason, of course, is valuation. We are given to understand that while promoters have been seeking in the range of about $600 million, the bids that have come in so far are between $400 to $500 million. So this is why we are told from our sources that there is a plan on the table wherein the promoters want to ink a joint venture with Mankind Pharma. This will give them the opportunity to increase the medical representatives they have on board. This will allow for deeper market penetration. And this, of course, will come as a huge fillip for the company because remember, many of their drugs, take, for example, the anti-venom drug that they have. It's a touted injection, very rare, but it's not accessible in the hinterland areas of the country where it's most needed. And Mankind Pharma, with its capability in this area, of course, can take this to another level and deepen the market forces when it comes to ground reach in this aspect. For Mankind, of course, it's a win-win formula because it will give them access to a highly niche segment, a complex segment which requires years of focused R&D and expand their portfolio via this joint venture. The talks are still underway. It's not a given that the JV will culminate because there are several factors, as I explained earlier, that are at play and need to fall in place for this JV to go through.
Neha.
But this is Plan D.
All right, Neha. Thanks a lot for that. Well, let's continue with the countdown of movers and shakers then. Federal Bank is one big gainer today in trade. This after the company has reported a strong fourth quarter led by healthy NII and lower provision. So we do have an NII growth of 17%. Profits are higher by 2.6 times on a year-on-year basis. Like we said, the asset quality as well has improved. So gross NPA has come down from 3.14% in the previous quarter to just 2.92%. Sequential improvement seen over there. Sameer, Bombay Dyeing is a stock we want to flag off because ever since the company has delivered its numbers, in fact, even before that, we've seen quite a gain come by in the stock price. It continues today as well. Your view here?
See, overall, if you see, this stock has slipped into a consolidation mode, 3 months back. Since then, it has been oscillating within the range of 140 on the higher side and 110, 115 on the lower side. It is now trading around its midpoint, so 140 is the level to watch out for. If this manages to surpass 140, sustains above that, and if the volume starts picking up further, then we could see this stock heading towards 160. But as of now, if I have to see any particular level, I would rather wait for a breakout to happen beyond 140.
All right, that's the word on a Bombay Dyeing. Moving on, Kunal, what's the word on an ITC? Why are you flagging that?
So on one hand, when you look at the price weakness and you can probably expect that maybe the stock is trying to challenge its support. It's had a very strong support zone of 295 to 300. So the, even if the stock is a bit flattish to negative, I strongly believe that the stock is into a very strong support zone. And when you look at the retest of the strong support zone, the tendency of a bounce is very sharp for stock prices like stocks like ITC. I believe that traders could look at these marginal dips as good buying opportunity. I would initiate a contra buy on the stock price for a target of at least 315 from current levels. So stop loss could be kept at 290 approximately for a target of 315 on ITC.
All right, that's the word on an ITC. Pranay, another consumption stock to flag off is Godrej Consumer because it's quite a bounce seen today. Okay, that as well has been sold into. Though mind you, after that massive fall in the early part of today's trade, we did see a bit of a rise come by.
Well, yes, and what brokerage CLS is saying that near-term consumption trends are going to remain weak. That is what they gathered from the con call. But because of the valuation and after the 23% correction that the stock has seen since the start of the year, they believe that it merits a buy and they have upgraded it to that. The domestic business will remain weak in their estimates, but the good part is that international business is stabilizing and valuations are also fair right now.
All right, that's the word on a Godrej Consumer, completely off the day's high. Vodafone Idea, meantime, quite a gain seen over there. This after the company has inked a 5-year deal with IBM worth 4,900 crore rupees for technology outsourcing. The stock price, however, has come off the day's high, but still gains of 1.9% seen over there. Kunal, another stock to flag off is Bharat Serum. We're waiting by for the fourth quarter numbers. Ahead of that, what are you observing?
Yeah, and if you look at the setup pre-result, the stock has been testing this 335 to 333, 335 range, I think for 8 or 9 attempts in the last 1.5 or 2 months. Generally when you look at retest of such a strong resistance, and the stock, taking its own time to break out of that. If it's in process of making a pattern of higher lows, then you can expect that the stock should break out of this resistance. So I believe Bharti Airtel could be a candidate, for a breakout, especially above that range of 335 plus. I would expect, a swift target of 360 if the stock sustains this breakout of 335. Watch out for this stock on a short-term trading basis.
All right, that's Bharti Airtel higher by 0.4%. Sameet, UPL today, a big gain seen over there, big move seen over there. Your view?
See, Mubina, if you see since last July, this stock has been on a roll. There has been no major correction seen in this counter. So, some kind of, profit taking was quite overdue, and this is what we are seeing today. So, this profit taking might extend a bit. So, going ahead, this stock can easily slide towards the next support zone of 915, 915. So, at this juncture, one should avoid taking longs. In fact, on any bounce back toward 945, it would be an exit opportunity.
All right, so avoid going long on UPL. That's Sameet's view. Kunal, HPCL today, gain seen over there as well. Your view?
I think, these OMCs are making a fine comeback. So whether it's on the back of, crude dropping back once again, or whether it's the chart structure, overall inherent chart structure, which is getting, stronger for these names. The reason for flagging of HPCL is, one of the price formations on the daily charts, and especially more clearly on the hourly charts, which is the bullish pennant formation. The stock has given a confirmation of a breakout, and I believe from a short-term trading basis, the stock could rally another 3 to 4%. So 303 is where I've placed the targets for a fresh buy on HPCL. Stop loss to be kept at 25.
Okay, well, with that, we're out of time on this edition of the show. So, Sameet, thanks so much for joining in with your technical strategies. Kunal and Pranay, to you as well. Coming up next is Markets at Noon.